Welcome, everyone. Session on lean thinking and transformation from operational excellence to innovation. So in today's agenda, we have a strategy and competitive advantage. We are going to talk about how superior performance for the companies, also understanding the lean thinking and innovation, what are the relationship between the both, and how to build an innovation culture with lean thinking. So let me begin with the strategy and competitive advantage. And I would like to start with a case of a company who made a lot of success and buzz this year, which is NVIDIA. So in 2024, NVIDIA has been named as one of the most innovative company of this year, riding the technology curve. In 2020, NVIDIA started to work on this project Omniverse, which is a cloud-based offering in one of the hottest technologies, which is a digital twin. So they are leveraging their expertise in the AI and 3D graphics. Omniverse is a solution to create realistic physical objects, locations, and processes. So this is a real type example of how AI can be used across different industries. These are the examples of the superior performance, which is actually the goal of any organization. Superior performance is a combination between the operational effectiveness and strategic positionings. Let me explain briefly what are those two key elements. Operational effectiveness is performing similar activities better than competitors. It refers to any number of practices or processes that allow a company to better utilize its inputs. It can be, for example, the R&D of new products or services or technologies or processes. On the other side, we have a strategic positioning. So strategic positioning is performing different activities from rivals or performing similar activities in a very different way. So in that context, we're really talking about making innovations which are radical in their nature, so very different from what competitors are doing. And this could be the examples of introduction of new products, new services, and really even breakthrough innovations. So how the organization can achieve this superior performance, which is desired by so many companies? Of course, one of the ways is to produce new products, novelty in products, novelty in processes, the protection of IP, so everything around the innovation. They can also produce products and services faster to the market, deliver faster to their clients. They can perform the design or create the platform configurations, or they can even reconfigure the processes by making it faster, cheaper, and better quality. Breakthrough types of innovation, when you really try to redefine the industry and change the game in the industry or markets. And lean approach can be one of the way how to apply and achieve this type of desired state of the company at work. And why lean? Because it eliminates waste, it specifies the work, it structures the communication between different levels and across the levels of the companies. It helps to address problems quickly and directly. It engages managers and also other employees and plan for incremental journey. And now I would like to give to Jesus. Jesus, I pass it to you to tell us about the lean thinking and how is it important for companies.
Thank you. So we start with first understanding what is lean thinking. Lean thinking is at its root the purpose of an organization. It is the process within an organization, and it's respecting the people within the organization. It is about creating the most value for both your internal customer and your external customer while minimizing the waste. And when we talk about waste, it comes in many forms. It comes in the forms of time, resources, energy, effort. It comes in multiple ways. So at its core, lean thinking is about 5 principles. The first principle is about understanding and identifying who is your customer. Again, both from an internal perspective, your internal customers, as well as your external customers. Secondly, we need to understand what is it that those customers value from our processes, from our organization. And then we need to understand how are we currently delivering those values. What we often find when we look at the process, the value stream, we often find lots of different types of waste. So the second principle is about eliminating unnecessary waste in the value stream, how we create value for our customers. There may be steps, maybe processes, it may be functions. We have to explore all the different possible waste in our organization. Once we begin the process of eliminating waste, then we can truly start focusing, how do we make work flow? We often forget that work flows from one end of the organization through the other end of the organization, whatever that may be. Maybe goes from sales to design to supply chain to manufacturing to logistics, and in some cases for installation. So we need to make the work flow through that entire process as easily as possible. And we do this, the focus is then to do this at the pull of the customer. We want to do it when the customer needs the product or the service, not what is considered called pushing the system. We want to pull it, let the customer pull the needs. And we're always in pursuit of perfection. So some key elements to understand about lean thinking. It's at the primary element is to focus on customer value. Again, we need to look at what is it that our customer, both internal customer and external customer, values from our products, from our services, from our processes, and how do we deliver the value to that customer. Secondly, is focusing on streamlining our processes. How do we reduce? One of the key elements within lean is understanding flow. That's why it's one of the key principles. Because anything that impedes flow of work through our organization automatically impacts our customers. So how do we streamline our process? And one of the most important key elements is understanding empowerment of individuals. Lean is about everyone being involved, everyone from the CEO all the way down to the person that cleans the floors. And so everyone needs to understand, everyone needs to be empowered to participate in finding ways to improve things. So why is lean thinking important for innovation? Well, in the first place, one of the cultural changes that happens in a lean organization is about problem solving at all different levels of the organization. And when we problem solve, it's about eliminating, number one, inefficiencies, but number two is we always focus from the customer's point of view. How is our product doing? Can we do better with our product? How is our process serving our customer doing? Can we improve that? So it is about constantly improving through problem solving. In addition to that, it encourages the adaptability and responses to changing markets. When markets change, that becomes a problem for the organization. And so if we create a culture that is constantly solving problems, it doesn't matter what changes. The first response is to look at it and see how can we resolve this problem? How does this problem impact our organization? How does it impact our customers? Next slide, please. So when we look at, again, lean thinking from how it impacts and how it encourages innovation, it is customer focus, which means anytime we look at any issue, any problem in our organization and outside our organization, we must always look at it from a customer's point of view, not our personal, but from a customer's point of view, whether we're talking about an internal customer or an external customer. It is about empowering individuals at all levels to solve problems and make decisions. It is about collaboration. Lean thinking is about cross-functional collaboration. You cannot, there's one of the fundamental philosophies is we can't go fix a problem that's affecting us as individuals unless we understand what is the impact, our solution. What is the impact upstream from us and downstream from us, which ultimately impacts your customer. And it's about experimentation. Because here's the thing, nothing is perfect. So we might come up with a solution, but that solution may not work. And the importance here is to understand that we must learn from those things that do not work, but then we continue looking for the appropriate solution. It is about setting a mindset that we may fail, but the reality is the only failure is when you fail to learn from those shortcomings. So one of the key elements in Lean is about creating a culture. And so to create that culture, the appropriate culture, the culture of problem solving, you need a commitment from leadership. The leaders in the organization must model all 5 principles. They must encourage problem solving, innovative problem solving. From an innovation perspective, everyone is involved in innovation. And when I say that is innovation isn't just about developing a new product or developing a new service. It is also about developing new ways to do things, new ways to improve what we're doing, something that's never been done within the organization. And it also encourages experimentation. Again, it's about quickly. It's not about being 100% on everything, what we call the 80-20 rule. If you're 80% confident, go try it, see if it works. If it doesn't work, you've just learned something. Then you come back and you experiment again until it gets you to the point where you need to be at or where you need to go. And most important, it is about celebrating both successes and our shortcomings, because learning is the key to innovation. Learning from the things that we know don't work until we get to a point that there is something that is going to be of value downstream. So here's a couple of examples. Lungberth Farms, family farms, we started working with them back in 2007. I want to say 2007. This is a company that was a family-owned business, was founded in 1937, and 3 brothers who were farming rice in California. And so the focus was initially growing their rice. Then as they started to produce their product, they started to think about, well, what markets can we get into? Besides just selling the 50-pound sacks of rice or the 25-pound or the 10-pound sacks of rice. They looked around and decided in 2012 that they were going to create a strategic plan, a 5-year plan, to double the size of the organization, create its own manufacturing capability in producing product, and develop new products. Now, they were already working on new products. The challenge was in 2012, when they asked us to come in and look at this with them, was that their average cycle for a new product introduction was 18 months. Now, you can do the math. If in 5 years I'm going to double revenue and it's all based on new products, how many new products can I get out in those 5 years? Basically 3. And there's just no way the 3 new products was going to get them where they needed to go. And so we were brought in and we jumped in and looked at their process, and within 9 months, we took what takes 18 months down to 54 days. So what you see on the screen are a large variety of new products that now you can see across the country. You can go, especially since they specialize in organic rice. And so you see their products across the country now versus initially they were only regional. And so again, through using the lean thinking, problem solving, the tools in the toolkit, empowering individuals, a cross-functional team was developed. And as a cross-functional team, they went through the process of reducing and eliminating and streamlining the process. Again, creativity. As an engineer myself, I always hear it. Well, lean is about process. Lean is about these tools. The question becomes, how much time as a creative person, as an engineer, and we as engineers think of ourselves as creative. And so where do we spend most of our time? Most of our time is not spent in coming up with something new. It is spent with the administrative functions. It's the red tape. How do we eliminate that? How do we reduce that so we have sufficient time to develop and to be creative and develop new products? This is what we achieve at Lundberg Farms. And for them, they've just been on this road of constantly improving not only internal processes, but coming up with new products, and they keep expanding on those products. Now they've actually started, one of the things we worked with them a few years ago was actually they now have a lab where they develop their own variety of rice, which they grow themselves, and now sell to others to plant and harvest. This one is Rexmoor Electrical Contractors and Engineers. And the reason I brought this one up because the construction industry is one of the very few industries that exist today that have been very, very slow, although in the last 5 to 7 years it's picked up the pace, but it's been very slow to change. So Rexmoor, they celebrated in 2022 100 years in business. And we came in 2009, 2010, and we first started by looking at one of their immediate challenges. They wanted to increase productivity of their installation process. When we went out and measured true value added time, and when I say value added time for construction, that means that a person that is hired to install electrical work, standing at where the work's at and constantly working, what we found that in an 8-hour day, they were only putting in about an hour and a half worth of actual true work. The balance of the time they spent looking for things, looking for parts, looking for tools, looking for instructions, constantly moving around. So we were brought in to bring in lean and deploy lean. And so the first objective was to improve that. And so we went from, within a year, we went from an hour and a half to 5 hours, 5.5 hours in an 8-hour day. Now, that required for the company to be very innovative. And that is, they had to change first a mindset, because the construction industry, it still happens today, but especially back in 2009, 2010, the mindset is you take your parts and you build whatever you need while you're doing the install in the field. And so we shifted that and said, look, there's a lot of things that you can, what is called prefab in the industry. You can now prefab in your shop in a controlled environment. And then secondly is, one, produce the product. Secondly, then create kits that go out to the field in a sequence base of installation, how you're going to install. Instead of having the installers go look for your parts, send the parts exactly to the location of where the installation is going to take in the order that material is going to be installed. So they're not walking around looking for things. Everything is right there within 10 feet, 10 to 15 feet, minimizing looking for materials. So innovative in starting prefab, innovative in how they sequence the work and install. It reshifted a lot of the planning from the field to further upstream and earlier in the process. So Rexmore took it much further than that. They actually created a manufacturing operation, which eventually grew to 400,000 square feet. When we first started, they had 8,000 square feet. Currently, 400,000 square feet. They developed their own products. What you see there on the right is what they called a bolt star, and it's for basically the pouring of lamp or light poles in a parking lot, and the bolt patterns that are used to bolt the pole. And so there's a patent on that. They've also developed several other products, and they've been unique. Not the only ones now. Like I said, this was 2009, and now there's several other electrical contractors and other mechanical contractors that we have worked across the country over the last since 2009 that are doing something very similar. So essentially, when we look at lean, we're talking about a sustainable culture. The key thing is creating the culture and creating a culture of problem solvers, which in turn drives innovation. Because if individuals in the organization look at a problem and look for ways to improve, and again, the problem isn't that it's negative, it's this isn't working 100% of the time. How can we get this to work as close as possible to 100% time? It's being innovative how we get there. It is about also not accepting status quo. It is about constantly looking to improve and get better. Even with the solutions we come up with, they're never good enough. You got to continue to find ways to get better. And for me, the most important part, it is about people involvement. It is about empowering your people to collaborate, to contribute, and to be creative.
Thank you, Jess, for this insightful presentation. We will continue building our knowledge base by providing you with these educational business sessions. So thank you for your participation, and let's move to the Q&A session right now.